What is up, guys? Evanaldo here. I am in Bali, Indonesia, in Canggu, walking around. Oh man, you know, the biggest thing that I want to kind of talk to you about today is, you know, there's a lot of different ways to accumulate wealth, to, you know, be successful or whatever. Crypto is one of those ways. Obviously, you know, a lot of you guys are into that. You know, that's the whole channel, the whole thing that this has been around, investing in crypto and trading crypto, like a lot of other crypto YouTube channels. But I mean, you look at a few things happen. You look at a lot of people who inherit a lot of money, or a lot of people who made a lot of money in crypto and lost it all. You've seen that a lot of times. You've seen people with seemingly really dumb business ideas make tons of money with it, tons of money. You know, everybody's, you know, I talk to some people, they're always like, oh, this business is so stupid. I can't believe this person made this amount of money. You know, they usually don't say it, but they're kind of insinuating, you know, I'm smarter than them. I have more, you know, I have better ideas or whatnot. And I don't think they're wrong. I definitely don't think they're necessarily wrong, because some of these things I've seen, you know, some meme coin, you know, anything that's ridiculous that people have made a lot of money on, you know, it's interesting. You know, it's interesting. And I think that ultimately the most important thing to realize here is that, you know, let's talk about some examples. Like, you know, the majority of people who bought crypto, who've invested in crypto, haven't made that much money with it. The majority of people who tried to start businesses haven't succeeded. The majority of people who tried to do something in real estate didn't make that much money. The majority of people who, well, I'm not saying, okay, well, I mean, I'm not saying, I mean big wealth, I mean big money. I'm not saying these people didn't make, you know, maybe a living with it or whatever, but the majority of people in every single occupation, every single field didn't make, let's say, that much money with it. The majority of them haven't. Some people have made a lot. The people at the top have made a lot. Now, the big thing that we want to realize is what separates the ones, the few, the very few, the 2%, I think in a lot of cases. There's a lot of science behind that 2%, 98% being the failing and 2% being succeeding. What separates those 2% there? And I think, could be wrong, but I think most of it is mindset. That's the thing, that the mindset is what, maybe you had the mindset good when you made all the money to begin with, and you realize too, keeping money is not the easiest task either. Keeping money is, you know, you look at people who inherited large amounts and end up blowing it all, and you're like, what the hell happened? I'll tell you what happened. The mindset went down the tube. They thought they didn't deserve it, and I mean, maybe that's true in some cases, but you know, I mean, it's regardless of whether that's true or not, I think the factor is you need to be within that mindset. You can't feel guilty. That's the important part. You can't be feeling guilty, because when you have success, no matter who you are, no matter how hard you worked, I think the unwritten thing, the thing that nobody talks about a lot of times, is you kind of feel, when you look at the world as a whole, when you look at average income of maybe the people you grew up with, maybe the people around you, maybe most of the people in the world, you kind of feel guilty if you're making, you know, a lot, if you're really comfortable making a lot and you're enjoying what you're doing. Why is that? Well, I think a lot of times the reason for that could be because, you know, you hear a lot of sob stories. You know, you do hear a lot of sob stories from people. You watch the news, you see the media, a lot of negativity, a lot of sob stories, a lot of things of that nature. So that's one of the things that could kind of put you in that negative mindset. People around you too. You know, when you start to, even if you don't have that much money, people ask you for favors, they ask you for money, they ask you for all these things. You know, there's always that, and then it puts you in a mind, oh, I do not deserve. You know, that's kind of what we're in Trading in the Zone. I think it's the second chapter. Could be wrong, but I think it's the second chapter. Mark Douglas, by Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, he talks about, let me try to find a quieter place here. I think you guys can still hear me with this mic though. He basically talks about how essentially you're programmed, I do not deserve. It's that kind of programming. maybe sometimes you get out of that programming for a little bit, and then you stop doing the things that you were doing. You stop doing what you were doing to be successful, to make the money, to have that mindset where good things come to you. And you know, you look too, and it seems like, I feel like everybody in their lives, they know somebody who always has terrible luck. Everything always bad seems to happen to them. If there's something bad that can happen, it will happen. And then you got somebody else who always has the best luck a lot of times. And most of the time, these two people have no idea really what's going on or why this is happening. You see somebody who everything they touch turns to gold. Everything they're not the smartest person, but everything they seem to do, they succeed at it. And you know, they may not have the best work, but I think consistency is an important part with that too, an important factor. But I think that at the end of the day, it's kind of the thoughts they have, the mindset, you know. They think they deserve it. You know, it comes easier to them. It's like, kind of the example that gets brought up a lot is, it's kind of like, man, Bali Canggu is busy. Busy place. But the example that gets brought up a lot is ultimately like water. You know, if you could kind of program yourself to have the abundance come to you like it's water, like it's nothing, then you could kind of, you know, get something out of that. So that's the important thing that we gotta kind of realize here. Trying to, man, you can't even walk any. Canggu's busy place. But yeah, ultimately, yeah, that's kind of, we kind of have to realize here. Important thing to realize. There's a lot of abundance. There's a lot of, you know, opportunities, and a lot of the mind-muscle connection. You'd be surprised. The mind-muscle connection is even, I mean, I knew it was powerful, but it's more powerful than I have ever thought it was. It's definitely more powerful than I ever have thought it was. So yeah, ultimately, oh, I think I know a place I could walk towards, but so ultimately, yeah, I mean, you look at it, like I was reading some of John Sarno's books, like, you know, it's people who were in debilitating pain, who couldn't barely even move, and then it turned out it was all, you know, mind-muscle connection, and there were things that they were able to do to fix this. Okay, not that way. But yeah, ultimately, that's what we got to look at here. So yeah, you know, it can be challenging, but you can get through it. So I think one of the most important things we can take away from this is, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're trying to do, act like you can't fail. Stop thinking about the reasons it can go wrong. There's a million reasons why anything could go wrong. No one could, you know, predict the future. We don't know. Nothing's 100%. If it was, you know, we'd probably all be billionaires. We'd probably all live forever. That's not the case. But start thinking about the reasons it could go right. I mean, if you can't think of any reasons it could go right, I think you may be trying the wrong thing. But there's ultimately a lot of things that can go right. A lot of things that you can, you know, view it in a different angle where it can go right. Figured I'd be able to, like, kind of get on the beach and walk around there, but not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking right now, things that can go wrong. Too much, you know, background audio, too much that, can't find a quiet place anywhere. So yeah, ultimately that's what I'm kind of looking at. But it can go right. Maybe I could find a place that's a little bit quieter. It's not the worst. I'm still recording this. I'm still able to, you know, kind of do this. That's just one example. It's just one example. And the other thing too I wanted to talk to you guys about is, ultimately, a lot of people that had their big breakthrough, like the popular quote from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, is he said, you know, when riches come, they come quick. And you were wondering, you know, where the hell they were all this time. A lot of people, when they had their big breakthrough, their big video that went viral, you know, their big contract they signed, their big business deal, you know, I could go on and on with examples, but things of that nature. They said, two things they said is, the thing I just said, you know, they were wondering where it was all the time. They weren't really doing anything too much different physically. They had different thoughts, I think. The mindset clicked. But ultimately, the other thing was, a lot of times they say it wasn't even their best work a lot of the times. It wasn't even their best work that they did a lot of the times. They don't even, it wasn't bad work, you know, I'm not saying like half-ass things and be really completely lazy with it, but something generally is better than nothing, in my opinion. You're better off to try something rather than do nothing. That's what I think. And you know, you're not gonna always have support from everybody. You're not gonna always, it's impossible to make everybody happy, because there's always gonna be different viewpoints. There's always gonna be different, you know, things and different viewpoints people have. Some people are gonna like this thing. Other people are gonna like that thing. You know, it's, do what's more true to you. You gotta, I mean, I was listening to, if I get attacked by a dog on this, that'll be interesting. But there are a lot of dogs on some of these islands. But ultimately, damn, that barking distracted me. I thought this would lead to somewhere. It doesn't lead to anywhere. Anyway, so guess I'm not allowed here. Dogs are pretty angry at me. Here, go back on the busy road then. Anyway, so kind of lost my train of thought with this barking. That's another thing too, and it's less in places outside of America, but dogs really irritate me, especially like, you know, when you live in America, especially like, unless you live in, I guess, your own house, you don't have to deal with it as much, you know, but when you're in like in elevators and stuff and residential condos, there's always freaking dogs. I mean, they're jumping on you. It's annoying. Even just walking outside, there's always, yeah, that is mostly in America from what I've seen, but I'm sure other places in the world too. It's annoying. I'm not knocking anybody who has dogs, but I mean, I feel like it's too excessive in America. There's just too many. But anyway, that's, you know, it wasn't, they talk about how kind of it wasn't their best, you know, thing. They just kind of you know, something's better than nothing. Try to, you know, build your craft. And yeah, this is what I remember I was about to talk about. You have to kind of like it, what you do. I think that's an important thing too. A lot of people, I think, start to think that they can't really do the things they like and make money with it or whatever, or they think they're not that talented. I don't think that's the case, because I think a lot of people that go into these things, like say a lawyer or a doctor, traditional pathways, they think maybe they're smart. You have to be pretty smart to be able to succeed at those things, especially in today's day and age. I mean, from what I've seen, I could be wrong on this, but I never realized how easy it was to get into college, a good college, when you were, to get into a good college in the 1970s or whatever. It was probably 10 times easier, it seems like, a lot easier. It's way, way more easy. So I think it was easier to kind of go down those pathways back then. I think the actual, you know, work of the job was less hours and less was expected of you too. But we can't, you know, that's the other thing too. That's a trap. You can't look back at that and start getting negative. That's just ultimately how it is. You can't be negative about that. You have to be resourceful. There's probably more opportunities now, but you just need to be resourceful. I mean, I'm in Bali, Indonesia right now. It reminds me a little bit in terms of like, and there's not many Americans here, but it's all expats for you guys. A lot of, you know, obviously a lot of foreigners for you guys who aren't familiar. And it's obviously a lot cheaper than a place like Miami. Similar climate, you know, similar things people are into recreation, a lot of smart people, but a lot cheaper. And the people I meet here are more my age, they're more younger, rather than the people I meet in Miami a lot of times, the ones that are actually successful and able to afford the lifestyle, you know, lifestyle that you can live here for not very much money. They're older, they're like in their 40s, their 50s a lot of times, you know, they're older. Not many young ones that kind of were able to do it themselves. Not many young ones in Miami, but there's arbitrage. You work remotely, you know, you can make, I mean, people exaggerate how cheap it is to live here. I mean, it depends what quality of life, but if you want a real, you know, luxury lifestyle, I mean, you need to probably make at least $5,000 a month, I would say, and be spending you need to, let's say, spending money $3,000 or $4,000 a month probably. You could do it on $2,500 probably, but I mean, you know, to be more lenient and actually save money, you've got to, I mean, ideally you want to shoot for 7 to 10 grand a month, that magic number, and that's still, for a place like here, a great, you know, great number to have ultimately. So that's what you got to kind of shoot for, but that's not really enough in a place like Miami or whatever. So, you know, if you can work remotely, and maybe it's harder to do it, I'll tell you that. It is a bit harder to do it, I think, you know, because it's harder to do it because you're kind of on a different time zone. There's just distractions, you know, especially if you're moving around, you got to find, you know, if you just want to move out here, you got to find the place you want to live, all that type of stuff. It is so loud. But yeah, anyway, that's, you know, that's a lot of the thoughts I had in this 15 minutes. Maybe I'll re-record this or something, or at least try to edit out all the background noise. I got to find a better place to kind of film this. Maybe I should have done it on the beach. There were just so many people on the beach. That would have been, you know, like, there's less people here, but more noise. Anyway, I'll see you guys. Smash the like button. Goodbye.